Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm going to do a different kind of book review for you today. This book review is it's called the NetGalley Toolkit, which is full of NetGalley tips or how to start reviewing. So the full name of the document is NetGalley's Book Advocate Toolkit. So what's going to make this review different is we're going to kind of not read this at the, together, but we're going to consider it together as I look at it for the first time. Yeah, I'm going to do this differently. Now, book reviewing, that's me, right? Robin loves reading. 4 years, just in May, it'll be 4 years. Actually, in March on NetGalley, it'll be 4 years. I'm just making room on my desk. And on my blog, I've got 3 planners out. I've got so much stuff on my desk. Okay, I just needed some room. On my blog, it will be 4 years in May, but on NetGalley, it's 4 years. It was 4 years in March. So I've been reviewing for 4 years, but this isn't the first time I reviewed. Actually, maybe I'll say 10, 12 years ago, I reviewed for Romantic Times Book Club magazine. I reviewed on Yahoo Groups. I had my own page or group called Lovers of Romance, and I reviewed for 3 other sites. Romance Junkies, I know, was one of them, and there was 2 others. World of Romance, boy, they're coming. It's slowly coming to me. And then there was one more, but I can't remember the other one. So I gave up reviewing because I have a lot of emotional issues, as you probably have seen time and again on this channel. But I gave up reviewing, and I also stopped reading for a few years, which is really weird because I've been reading since I was 4 years old. Yes. And by the time I was, I think 11 or 12, I had read every Agatha Christie book she had written up until that time. And then, of course, I read, some what we now call middle grade books. I read a lot of mysteries. I even read books I shouldn't have read, like the book of not the Book of Joy, but just a couple of adult books that I snuck out of my mother's room. I just can't think of the names of them right now, but yeah. And I even read a couple of those, what do they call, bodice rippers? I snuck out of my mom's room. Yeah, I was reading everything. So I read for years. And then I started having a family, and my reading slower and slower. And then when all my kids were in school, I really started reading a lot. And then I reviewed, like I said, for the magazine. I even had my own byline and everything. I reviewed for years, and then I stopped again. And then I went to a complete drought. And then I was on a live stream maybe 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, and somebody said something, and it didn't quite come out as NetGalley. Somebody typed in the chat, what is NetGalley? And somebody corrected them and said, no, NetGalley. And I asked what it was, and it wasn't answered, but it didn't leave my mind. So the next time that person live streamed, I asked in the chat again, what is NetGalley? And so I found out that I could have just went to netgalley.com, which I then did. And that was the best thing I could have done, because now I had a reason to read. And I mean, my goodness gracious, I've got books here. I've got my planners. I've got my Kindle over there. I've got my other devices. I've got my Kindle Paperwhite, and all I do is read. And I do a lot of audiobooks. I just love to read. I'm just gonna set those up there. Excuse me for tossing that, but I just need room. I need room. So I thought when I saw this toolkit that even though I feel very, very confident in what I do as a reviewer, and even now as a YouTuber who is bringing my reading to this channel, I thought, let's get this document, which is 31 pages, okay? And we're just going to review it together. We're going to consider it together. So I think I may incorporate some images, but in case I don't, I'll just show you the very first thingy. That's the cover, NetGalley's Book Advocate Toolkit, and you see all of these different icons. I'm sorry for almost dropping that. And it shows like an ebook. It shows like your follow link. It shows certain buttons that you get, like when you get to 500 reviews. It shows how you would share, you know, those are what those little icons were on that page. So what is this NetGalley Toolkit? This is a guide for members looking to take their NetGalley profile, reviews, and social media to the next level. So who of us doesn't want to improve, right? I certainly want to improve. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite things that I always say is I am a work in progress. No matter what aspect of my life, I am a work in progress. And that includes me as a reviewer. So let's look at the letter from NetGalley. It says, Dear Book Advocate, are you ready to start your journey with NetGalley? Or maybe you're a longtime member looking to take your book advocacy up a notch. No matter where your starting point is, this toolkit is designed to have everything you need to succeed. And that's what it does. And I'm not going to spoil the whole thing, but I just want to intrigue you, whet your appetite, make you think about whether you want to review one book a week, one book a month, or like me, 40 or 50 books a month. There's something out there for everybody. And I'm just going to shift gears for a second. I just want to get a different device so I can shift gears. I don't want to wake up my cat. I woke him up. Oh well. I have 3 devices over here, but I can't seem to get the one that I want to get. Sorry about that, but it's worth it because I want to tell you something about NetGalley. I'm just going to go to the NetGalley site on one of my other many devices. Yes, I am a techno geek. I am a nerd to the nth degree. Okay, this is the first time that I've turned on this device today, so quite naturally it's going to start giving me notifications. Sign into NetGalley. Why am I not signed in? Okay, you want to be slow. Okay, we're just going to use my... So if you go to NetGalley, I'm just going to bring this up. Okay, now I'm back in. Okay, so we can go back. What I love about NetGalley is I am signed in. Okay, is there literally is something for everybody. So if you were to go to find titles, okay, and if you go to find titles, this is this is the page that populates. That's the front page, whatever that front page is, and it changes daily. In there, in that page, there's something that's called View Categories. So if I were to click View Categories, you have, I'm going to do this, that device is so sensitive. You tap the screen and 7,000 other things happen. So we're just going to grab my iPad. I'm sorry for that. I might edit this video, I may not. So if I go to find titles and I click View Categories, you get a whole list of categories. And I'm just going to give you a few. You have featured, favorite publishers, and auto approvals, which is where you are in your dashboard. But then you have browse audiobooks, browse books. Now here are the categories: art and photography, cooking, food and wine, craft and hobbies, multicultural interests, horror, LGBTQIA, professional and technical, reference, religion and spirituality, romance, true crime, women's fiction. I mean, who is not going to find something that will pique their interest? So you can go and click a category. Let's say I'm right now interested in bringing more middle grade into my channel. So if I click middle grade, then I get this page, recently added books and recently added audiobooks and the featured book. And so I will just tap one of those, and then when I tap it, I can request that book. And it will ask me, why am I interested? Is it the author, the cover, the description, I keep hearing about it, or the book title? You can click one or all or even none. And the publishers will look at these requests and grant them to whoever they think will fit that title the best. Now, I am very new to middle grade, so I only have maybe 3 or 4 middle grade requests that I have made since yesterday, and I want to see whether or not I will be picked for those, and if I am and get those read, because this is what got me excited. It was this arc. It's the end of the world and I'm in my bathing suit, and it's by Justin A. Reynolds. So he has a new book coming out called Shot Clock that comes out in September. I already got that book, so I am going to be bringing middle grade to this channel and to my blog. So when it says here, whether you're a new member or a longtime member, there's plenty to offer you. And then back to the NetGalley Toolkit, it talks about NetGalley tips. And what are some of these tips? Well, first it teaches you how to even create an account, okay? And then it also tells you the purpose of NetGalley. What is the purpose of it? It's to help publishers and authors to promote digital review copies to book advocates and industry professionals. So it's to help publishers and authors. So when I write a review, my aim is to intrigue the watcher or reader of my review enough to want to go read that book or read books by that author. So yes, my job is to help authors and publishers. Then they have a supplementary site called We Are Bookish, which I must admit I have not really utilized We Are Bookish as much as I wish I had, but I've got to spend more time on that site. So that's a clickable link. As a matter of fact, there's in this little document here, which you can use on NetGalley Shelf, a lot of this is clickable. So when you're reviewing this or reading this for your own edification, you can click some of the things, and there's going to be an arrow. You see that arrow right there? So when you see that arrow, that means you can click that and you can read that. Now, who can review for NetGalley? Check this out. A librarian, a bookseller, an educator, a media, or a reviewer. That's it. Wait a minute. No. Because when we get to reviewer, it doesn't matter where you review. Do you review for your blog, a social media platform, just a designated review site like only Goodreads? That qualifies who? Everybody. Everybody. I love that. Then we have the next section, Feedback Ratio 101. It tells you what the recommended feedback ratio is, what kind of goals you can set to get there, and what books that you can choose to increase your ratio. And also a way to help you to be more consistent so that you can catch up on reviews, which recommended feedback ratio is 80%. Want to see my feedback ratio? I don't have anything to hide. I don't have anything to hide. So I'm going to show you my ratio. I think I have to increase. Yeah, I have to. This is my ratio. You can see that my ratio is 59%, blocking my face. The recommended feedback ratio is 80%, but here's Robin at 59%. The reason my ratio is at 59% is I have been approved 2,096 e-galleys, electronic galleys. From that 2,096, I have provided 1,228 feedback reviews or book reviews since 2018. So I still have 800 or so to review, but don't follow my path. As a matter of fact, when I say don't follow my path, is if we go back a page, if we go back to, well, if we're still in the feedback ratio 101, I'm just going to increase the page. Fight temptation. Avoid what? Avoid the request spree. Okay? Keep that in mind. Because Robin, when I started reviewing, I want this, and this. I like this author, so I want this, and this. And the thing is, even though my ratio is only 59 compared to the recommended ratio of 80%, I get approved of 99.9% of the books that I request, which is basically 100%. And that 0.1% I don't get approved, I just pop an email and I get the book within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or half an hour. So ultimately, I do get 100% of everything that I want to read, I should say. And then there's also something, well, when it comes up in here, I'll tell you more about that. So it's hard to not over request. And another thing with me is about a year or two ago, maybe 2 years ago, I started doing blog tours. So when I started doing blog tours, and I hope this sensitive tablet will cooperate. When I started doing blog tours, I created spreadsheets. I am the Spreadsheet Queen, okay? If I open my blog tour spreadsheet, okay, this is, I'm going to shrink the screen down. This is what too low. Let's bring it up a little bit more. These are my blog tours for 2022 so far. But I made pages in this thing. So if I go back to when I started doing blog tours, I guess in 2020, this is how many blog tours I did in 2020. And then last year, yeah, this is a Samsung tablet, but it drives me nuts. So last year in 2021, this is how many blog tours I did last year, including not just what you see here, but including these batch reviews that you see here, here, and here. So that was 2021. As of this year, like I said, when we get to, I am only populated up until August. So if I don't have anything for September through December, but I guarantee you that the end of this year will look much like 2020 and 2021. Why am I telling you about that spreadsheet and those pages? Well, when it says avoid the request spree, when I sign up for blog tours, I get widgets. A widget is when you get a title that is sent to you directly from a publisher or a publicist. Well, when you sign up for blog tours, in most cases, you get widgets. So if I say sign up for 20 Harlequin blog tours, that means that's 20 downloads I need to make at NetGalley. If I sign up for 15 bookatures, then there's 15 downloads I need to do there. Or Berkeley, or I even have like a notes here, like I review blog tours for Bookature, Historical Fiction Book Tours, Inkslinger, St. Martin's, Atria, Harlequin, Source Books, Avon Impulse, HarperCollins, Park Row, Entangled Publishing, Austin Press, Audrey Jennings, and Berkeley. So whenever I agree to do a blog tour for any of those, then those are downloads that I make. So my existing ratio never really lowers, because no matter how many, like if I get 40 reviews done in a month, or 30, or even 50, there's 20 or 25 that I'm still downloading that month for upcoming tours. So that's why you get that advice to fight temptation and avoid the request spree. And then there are tips like subscribe to the weekly NetGalley checklist email, perfect your profile, which basically means keep it updated. Learn from declined requests. Well, does a certain publisher or a certain type of book always get declined when it comes to you? Well, learn from that. And then there's more clickable links in that section. Remember I said there's going to be arrows. So when you see that arrow, when you read this document, you can click those links. And I'm giving you highlights. I am not going to sit here and read 31 pages to you. Now, how do you write a book review? Okay, there are book review tips. Okay, and I want to scroll back a page. There was something I read. Okay, we're just going to go to book review tips. How do you write a comprehensive book review? Describe the plot in maybe 1 or 2 sentences. Find your voice. The way I write is not the way Sally writes. The way Sally writes is not the way John writes. Find your voice. So I found my voice. And then think about the audience. What can I say in my book review that's going to make you want to read the book I am talking about? Those are your 3 top tips. And then there's some do's and don'ts. Make your opinion clear as a do. Explain why you praise a book or even why you critique a book, and also share content warnings. Like, say, for example, an overdose or a suicide or a sexual assault. If there's content warnings, you should make those clear. Now, here's some don'ts. Don't forget to proofread. Do not share major spoilers. And don't wait till you get to the middle of the review to catch the reader's attention. And that's where I fail the most. Like with my 3rd or 4th paragraph, I really gain traction and I really get you excited. But it's saying don't do that. So I've got to work on that. Now, how to write a critical review, an audio review, or if you have reviewer's block. Okay? Now, I want to read the tips on how to write a critical review. You want to make your opinion clear. As mentioned, you want to explain your critiques. Now, I'm going to give you an example. There's a book that I read. I won't name the book in this video, but there's a book that I just read a couple of days ago that I had some critical thoughts about, some critiques. And I explained those critiques, even though the book I will give 4 stars to. So explain those critiques. Avoid ranting. Let's say that you and your spouse had an argument, right, that morning. Who of us doesn't argue with our spouse? And then you're reading a book where there's a couple in the book and they have, say, some type of a disagreement in the context of the book. Well, you don't want to rant about that because your mood is already shaken by your personal experience. So don't rant. Complain about the characters, the author, the plot. You know, yes, you want to critique. You want constructive criticism, but don't rant. Then you want to mention the things that you did enjoy. Consider who might like the book. And then there's another arrow for finding more critical review tips there. So you've got to read this if you want to find more tips. Now I'm going to give you an example that helps me as a reviewer. If you're a Bible reader and you read the book of Revelation, Jesus addresses 7 congregations. And he has some harsh things to say to each congregation. But he also finds something positive about each congregation. So I kind of use that biblical example in my reviewing, okay? Yes, I may love the book, the characters, the plot, the setting, the conflict, the resolution. I may enjoy all of those things, or I may dislike some or all of those things. But just as there's constructive criticism, there's always something positive to say. That's just my personal take on that. Then NetGalley, about 3 or 4 months ago, started having audiobook arcs. And I think I probably have done 20, maybe 15 or 20 so far. But with NetGalley now having audiobooks, like if you go to the find titles, always the first thing is audiobooks. Find, what does it say? Find added audiobooks. So now NetGalley is including audiobooks. So the NetGalley tips includes helping you to write reviews that are based on audiobooks. Now, in my case, and I'll use this book right here, out of the blue, I had as a print arc, a NetGalley arc, and from Hachette Audio, an audiobook arc. So I had it in 3 formats. So what did I do? Of course, I used the audiobook format to read this book. So in so doing, you get some good advice, like focus on the narration. Talk about the flow of the story. Don't forget to talk about the writing. So I can't say I liked Mary Jones in the way she read. Her intonation was great, her accents, her various voices, and go wax poetic about her throughout the whole thing. And not talk about the context of the book or the writing style. So that's some advice there. And of course, there's a clickable link to find out more tips. Now, what if you have reviewer's block? there's tips on that. Make a sandwich. Start it with the summary, end it with your recommendations, and then you go back in the middle and you fill that in. That's a method that I use sometimes. Like when I get to the point where I have 10, 15, 20 reviews to write at one time, I make that sandwich. I start off by creating an outline, like, what do you call it? What do I call it, Robin? I call it a header. I create a header, okay? And in there, I put description, the author, the name, the title, and all this, and then I put my thoughts, and I put about the author at the bottom. And then when I'm creating the sandwich that this reviewers block section talks about, I go in and I fill all that in. I add the images. I add all the links. I put in all the author information at the bottom. And then when I do about 10 of those, then I go in and I fill in the middle of that sandwich, the body of the review. And so that's the recommendation there. Now, something that's very important for us reviewers to do is we promote reviews on social media, okay? Now, doing it just on NetGalley isn't enough, or just on Goodreads isn't enough. Now, in my case, I fall behind a lot, which I've come up with a way to not let that happen anymore. But when you fall behind, then you run into areas where you have difficulty cross-posting to social media. And I'm going to show you a failure of mine. All of these reviews on this page have been done, but they haven't all been properly cross-posted. So I am coming up with a way to cross-post that big list sporadically so that I don't flood Twitter or I don't flood Instagram. But it's very important to promote these books, because the whole purpose of NetGalley is to help authors and publishers. So it's very important to promote reviews on different social media platforms. Now, there's blog review formats that are discussed in here. Then there's something that I'm doing more of, is reviewing on BookTube. Now, how did I learn how to review on BookTube? Well, you start off by watching other BookTube channels. Then you also have to think outside of the box. Like, remember when you have to find your voice to write reviews? Well, you also have to find your voice when it comes to making BookTube reviews. Now, it says find your inner vlogger. I am not good at that. So I need to read that. I need to click this link that says find more BookTube review tips here. I am going to do that right after this review, because I need this. Okay, I need that. Then it talks about bookish social media. You can say Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, of course, Goodreads and NetGalley. Your blog if you have one, even Pinterest, BookBub, TikTok. No, I don't do TikTok. Yeah, so find out what social media is out there, take a look at them, and see where you can cross-post. Now, the next part of this talks about these. TikTok, YouTube, your blog, Goodreads, all of that. And then there's some generals, do's and don'ts. We talked about that a little bit. But now, when it comes to do's and don'ts, in this section of this toolkit, it helps us to avoid do's and don'ts when it comes to sharing on social media. And that's very, very important. And it also talks about engagement. Like, just posting a review and going on to your next one may not be good enough. You may want to engage either with the author, with the publisher, with the other readers. And then there's some don'ts. I think I said don'ts. There's some don'ts. If you have a 2-star review, don't tag the author. Don't do it. Okay? Tag the publisher, but don't tag the author. Okay? And then don't follow to unfollow. Like right now, I have like almost 4,300 followers on Instagram. I'm not going to go into my Instagram and go to my followers and have all these followers in this column, and then my follower count is way down here. No. If you have followers on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or whatever have you, then follow them back. If you have followers on YouTube, follow them back, but don't go to unfollow. And for those of us like me who like to have a blog, there's a whole section on that. Book blogging 101, Bookstagram 101, another area that I am going to read, research, and try to improve on. Like, I'm good for putting the book cover and the blog tour poster, but Bookstagram should be much more than that, and that's where I'm weak in. There's BookTube 101. I need that. Book Talk 101? Am I going to do TikTok? I don't know. Then it talks about strategizing and getting organized and using picture apps like PixArt or Canva or photo tips and how to create appealing photos. All areas that I really, really need. Then there's the hashtag tutorial. Hashtags are important. So it teaches you how to choose good hashtag. What tips will give you great hashtags? And then there's accessibility, and there's do's and don'ts with that. Like, what should you name your videos? Or what you shouldn't name, what things you should not include. Don't overuse emojis like when you're doing written reviews, things like that. Even using special fonts when it's necessary. I'm good at using Times New Roman and Times New Roman only. But what I do in my book reviews is I do use three things I use. I use bold, I use italics, and I often use quotation marks. So that's what that is talking about. And then it talks about happy reading. Above all else, enjoy what you read. And I'll give you an example. I have a book right here. I have stuff everywhere in my office. Nope, wrong book. This is a good one that my husband wants me to read. But it's this one I meant to pull out. This is Unmasked by Paul Hose. It comes out, I think, on the 26th of April. And it's My Life for Solving America's Cold Cases. It's true crime. True crime and horror are my least favorite genres. So while this book was sent to me by Celadon, unsolicited, but while it was sent to me, I am going to read it. I am going to read it. But I'm not going to go to NetGalley and get 30 or 40 true crime books because it's not a genre that's a favorite of mine. I'm not going to go to NetGalley and get a horror title because that's not a favorite of mine. So the last part of this is you just want to enjoy your reading. If you like romance, then just get a bunch of romance books. If you like, what is this? Sorry, I'm dropping stuff. This is women's fiction. If you like women's fiction, then get women's fiction books. Choose what that you like to read. Remember, I said in the beginning of this video that there are a host of categories. Scroll through those categories and choose what you like so that no matter what you do, you find joy in it. So that is, like I said, a different review for a different type of book for anybody that's interested in reviewing. I will do my best to cross-post this video everywhere in case there are people who have thought about reviewing that think that they can't do it, or they think they'll see a spreadsheet of mine and see that I've got 30 blog tours for a 30-day month, and they're like, no, I can't. Nope, you do you. But grab this. I will link NetGalley in the description. I will link this particular free document in the description. And don't hesitate to say something in my comment section or message me anywhere for any tips, advice, counsel, more do's and don'ts, more specifics. I'm an open book. I will help you any way I can because this is my life. This is my livelihood. I don't work. I'm on disability, but there's nothing that stops me from reading a good book. And now I have given myself a platform over the past 4 years to talk about these books. So this is one of my longest, if not my longest, book review video, but I think it was well worth it. When I started to look at this document, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this one differently. So I hope that you watch this whole video, and I will warn you in the description about the length of this video. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.